Well, the early offseason has been pretty interesting to say the least with some of the signings and trades we have. We're going to kind of cover those tradings and signs today, and I'll give you guys my reaction about everything. So we're first going to talk about the massive Dylan Cease contract that he signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a 7-year, $210 million contract, which is basically $30 million a year. Now, it's a pretty massive contract for the Toronto Blue Jays to take on, but they were going to spend money regardless in the offseason. I mean, they obviously tried to do this last year, and it really didn't help. At least no one wanted to sign with the Blue Jays, and then they end up going to the World Series, and I guess people want to sign with them now, which is kind of funny to think about. But Dylan Cease's massive contract he's getting with the Toronto Blue Jays, and honestly, I feel like it's a pretty solid deal for Dylan Cease. He's obviously like the only pitcher in the last 5 years to have consistently gotten 200 strikeouts, which is pretty impressive, and he's finally getting paid with this massive deal, so it's definitely a good solid contract for him. For Toronto, I don't know about 7 years. I think maybe 4 or 5 would have been good. I just don't know how he's going to perform over those last couple of years, so I would personally probably have this a front-loaded contract if I were the Blue Jays. I don't really know how I feel about this contract for the Jays, but I think Dylan Cease is definitely a solid player, and I think he's going to make a pretty big impact in those first couple of years. But just looking at that contract as a whole over the lifespan, not really sure how that's going to play out, but I definitely think he's going to be a good player. $210 million over that 7 years. I don't think it's a massive overpayment because I do think they wanted good pitching. And obviously with the pitchers they have, I do think he's going to slot in really well. So I do think it's a good deal for the Toronto Blue Jays and Dylan Cease. And the next big signing we're going to talk about is the Josh Naylor contract. Basically the first one to get announced for the whole offseason. 5-year contract, $92 million. So about 18.5 over that time. So definitely a solid contract. I definitely think this is right for Seattle to do. He was so good for this team in 2025 that it just makes complete sense to sign that contract. And I think it makes sense for both parties. I don't think they overpaid at all. I think he's definitely getting the value he's worth. So definitely a solid contract so far for the Seattle Mariners. And that was basically the two big deals that kind of happened over this offseason. I'm going to kind of show up on screen the other 11 contracts that have gotten signed. Some of them you probably haven't heard of, but this is what Sport Tech has so far. So these are the 13 players that have been signed, the 11 others that we didn't talk about in this video. Now, let's talk about the big 3 pieces of news we're going to cover in this video. Let's talk about the Anthony Rendon situation first. So apparently the Angels and Anthony Rendon are in talks of buying him out of his last year of his contract, and he's expected to retire. So this is pretty crazy news because this is actually his last year with that Angels team and with that contract. And if you guys have been following any part of the Angels or any part of his time with the Angels, he has literally been horrible. I saw a stat the other day that said Ted Williams was better over a 4-year span than Anthony Rendon was in 3 of the years he was fighting in World War II. So that was a pretty crazy stat, I ain't gonna lie. Anthony Rendon has only played in like 200 games and he's getting over like $200 million. So he has gotten more money than games played if you go off millions, which is pretty crazy to think about. So yeah, just a horrible deal, horrible contract. I mean, he has not been good with the Angels. Great with the Nationals, but has not been good in the later parts of his career. They're expected to buy him out of his contract, which makes total sense in my opinion. I mean, honestly, they should have been doing this years ago because this contract has been strapping that franchise down for quite some time. That's definitely a positive side coming from the Angels, and obviously Anthony Rendon, he's had a really good career. Obviously best year was probably in 2019, winning the World Series, being a phenomenal player for that team. But these are where the two parties are going to part paths, it looks like. It's going to be great for the Angels, I think, as well, getting that money off the books for 2027 and not even have to worry about him playing in 2026, which I think is good. So that was the first big piece of news, which I personally think that is exactly what should have happened. Now let's talk about the next massive trade that went down. The New York Mets and the Texas Rangers made a trade that would send second baseman Marcus Semien to the Mets and send outfielder Brandon Nimmo to the Rangers. So this was the big bombshell that happened so far in the offseason. Honestly, looking at both sides, I think it makes sense for both teams. We'll break it down like this. Let's talk about from the Rangers side. They obviously get rid of Marcus Semien for Brandon Nimmo. I do think Brandon Nimmo is the better player. If you look at his 2025 stats, he's definitely been the better player. And just looking at the seasons in the past, in the regular season at least, he's definitely been pretty solid. And Brandon Nimmo is the cheaper player, but they're both making a lot of money, so it's not like a crazy difference. But for the New York Mets, I really do think that they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. Like, I genuinely think they're willing to buy whoever they need to, sign whoever they need to. I definitely think that's what they're looking to do with this trade. You know, and I definitely think they want to establish that infield a little bit more. You got Marcus Semien, you got Lindor for your infield spots. Now you just got to worry about the corners, which is kind of the big problem on the Mets right now. So maybe they move one of their players over to that first base, over to that third base position for now. We'll kind of see what happens and what kind of they're putting together over here. I definitely think you could see a player that played second base or, you know, played a shortstop or played something like that playing somewhere else, because there were a lot of players that played in the infield for the Mets in 2025. So it's definitely going to be an interesting little roster build for that infield, but I do think it's going to work out. But I generally think the Mets are doing literally whatever it takes to win. So that's why I think it makes sense for both of these teams, honestly. And the 1-for-1 trade, we really don't see that anymore. So it actually was pretty cool to see that kind of bombshell dropped. And we didn't hear any rumors about this either. We'll see what happens happens for both the players and the teams, but yeah, definitely one of the bombshell trades of the offseason for sure. And kind of a trade that happened the other day, which was really interesting, is the Red Sox trade for Sonny Gray from the St. Louis Cardinals. So the Red Sox received Sonny Gray and some cash, and the Cardinals received 2 pitching prospects. Probably one of them is pretty good, and the other one is okay from what people have kind of said and what people have kind of heard. But we'll kind of see how this plays out. I also don't know why Sonny Gray ever signed with the Cardinals wanting to win, because when he did initially sign there with the Cardinals, they did have a great rotation. That rotation was good, but just the starting 9 was not up to par to, you know, a playoff roster. So that was kind of the problem there. I really don't know why he signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, but now he goes to the Boston Red Sox, and honestly, I think it's a pretty good move. I know a lot of people are kind of hating on this trade and saying it's pretty trash, but I do think Sonny Gray could be good with Boston. I know he has not had the greatest numbers in Fenway Park. That's something that people have said in the past as well, but you never know what really happens, and the Cardinals are paying most of his contract as well, which is going to help out the Red Sox a lot. But I definitely like this trade for the Boston Red Sox. I think it's a good one. We'll see how he performs. We'll see if he's any good. I think he is a free agent at 2027, or he's got a team option or something like that. So if he isn't good, the Red Sox could just get rid of him. For the Cardinals, you pick up 2 pitching prospects. I don't think it's as bad. I don't think the Cardinals were really going to win with Sonny Gray, to be honest. So I think it makes sense for the Cardinals to get the 2 pitching prospects, and we'll kind of see what happens from there. But this was another bombshell trade that kind of happened. Now, once again, no rumors about this at all. That's pretty much everything that's happened in this offseason so far. I don't want to say it's been slow, because there's definitely been some information and been some trades and some signings going on, but nothing like totally crazy yet, or nothing like the Juan Soto deal yet. So we'll kind of wait to see what happens as we move closer to the winter meetings and we get closer into that offseason. But we're going to see a lot more signings and a lot more trades, I think, happening very soon. And it's kind of crazy. We have more trades and signings, so that is definitely pretty interesting to think about. But with that being said, what's your guys' thoughts on all the trades, all the offseason signings, any players that you're predicting to go somewhere? Definitely let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, make sure you guys follow me on my X for all the updates and all the clips. Make sure you follow me on Instagram for all the clips as well. And if you guys want to play in our MLB The Show tournament we're hosting on December 13th coming up, join the Discord, and then you'll follow the information on there to sign up. And I am wearing the merch right now, so if you do want to pick something up, we actually got 10% off everything on the store for about a month. So definitely go check it out if you've been interested in wanting to buy some merch. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.